I don't gotta change the world, I just got to be myself. I don't count dollar signs, spread love and I share the wealth. I've been overthinking all my life. No more wasting all my precious time. I feel alive, feeling like I'm 10 feet tall. I feel alive, feeling like
You know,
you gotta do the work to know something, right? Because they always say you have to, put yourself in the best situation to actually seize an opportunity once it's actually presented. You know what I'm saying? But
exactly.
But like you said, like your network and connections are everything. That's actually the one thing that I went to college with, and that came to me from just being in the church. Where I realized that a lot of people were able to get by because of people they knew in the church.
Right.
Whether it was a handyman, whether it was a tutor, whatever the case was, right? So that's one thing that it actually helps you like figure out like a good crowd to be around too. Because it's like, if they're not bringing you value in some way, or you don't think they can bring you value in some way, then it's easy to cut off that friendship. You know what I'm saying?
No. And it's crazy you say that because, there's only two types of people, assets and liabilities.
Right.
So they're either adding to you or taking away. But something I would say, whether I think, at least for me, I didn't catch on to the networking side of things. Right. I didn't know how to weed friends. I didn't know how to say, okay.
I mean, it takes us all a bunch of time.
It takes time. It definitely takes time, especially in corporate America. Because whether you're an entrepreneur or you're going in corporate America, if you're not going into this with a network of friends or you're playing at a handicap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's just like, who's going to guide you, so to speak? You have to build a certain polish in order to be successful.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the thing is too, like, remember when we were younger and we had a question, like, I'm talking about young.
Yeah.
Teacher would be like, go look it up in the dictionary. Like before Google, right? They'd be like, go look it up, go ask somebody.
Yeah.
And like, I think they were training us for that same thing, right? So it's like, for one, you got to have the network and the connections. But you have those network and connections, not to just give you a leg up in life, but to answer the questions that come up through life, right?
Right.
So it's I always tell people I may not have all the answers, but I know where to go find them. Because I know like, I can call Joe, I can call so-and-so, you know what I'm saying? So that's why you need the network, right? Is to have somebody to go ask that question.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think that once you combine those resources with your organization, that's when you get the innovation that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's when it all falls into place.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to go through the journey.
That's
what it is.
It's always a journey.
It always is, man. And whatever journey you come through, I feel like energy's everything. And I took time. Actually, one of my favorite authors is Bruce Wilkinson.
Okay.
He has a book called The Dream Giver, and he talks about nobodies, anybody's, and somebody's. And we all start off as a nobody who live in this land of contentment.
Sure.
Regular
comfortability.
Comfortability. Regular 9 to 5. It's actually called the land of familiar.
Yeah.
And as you leave this land of familiar, things get rough.
You do.
They get
absolutely.
They get real rough, and you become that anybody, the person that has the passion, but you haven't found a way to apply it.
Right.
And then before you get to somebody, it's like you found your passion, you know what you want to do, but now you're using it to help other people,
right.
And that's what separates the somebodies from the anybody's.
No, that's really good, and it's funny too because I always say like, when you talk about being comfortable, right? I think it's a positive and negative, right? I think it's a positive from the perspective of if you're comfortable because you're in things that you want to be in, right?
Yeah.
Or are you comfortable because you're complacent and you're too scared to actually strive for something that you would actually want to achieve, right?
Right.
Because you don't want your complacency and comfortability to lead to resentment 40 years from now, right? That's the big thing. That's what I'm running away from, right? It's like, do I think that like me not doing something is really going to irk me in 20, 30 years from now? If so, let's just do it now. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just start it now. If we fail, then it's like, I could tell myself in 40 years, like we tried it. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, man. If you shoot for the moon, you're still amongst the stars.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, you're still amongst the stars. And then like, that everlasting victory. I think that's what everybody, or at least for me, I'm chasing that everlasting victory. For me to just sit still and, get caught in that contentment, like you said, it's kind of like the biggest fear in my life.
Yeah,
I would hate to be in that spot.
Yeah.
Like the generation before us. They say average man learn from himself.
Yeah, a
wise man learn from the mistakes of others.
You got to.
And you see so many the baby boomers. A lot of them who didn't pursue their dreams. You kind of see it.
That's what I'm saying.
And, like you see it, and it's scary, man.
It's scary, and the thing is like, a lot of like their parents will tell them that they didn't have a choice, right? It's like, like our parents,
right.
They'll be like, man, like we got drafted, we had to like go protect the country, like there were different things that changed people's life, trajectory. We're not going to have that excuse.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No,
especially our generation is so unique because we were still playing outside, and then
the last generation to play outside. We were the last, definitely.
And I always tell people, I'm like, it probably wasn't until like maybe junior year where you could send a text message and know that the person you were sending it to probably had unlimited texting. Right. Because even if you had a phone freshman or sophomore year, you were limited, or it was like 10 sets of text. Your parents were like, dang, you can't be texting 500 messages a month. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we didn't, and now it's like you got unlimited texting in 5th grade. You know what I'm saying? People are like,
oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. I'm telling you, my daughter, man, when she first got an iPad, she said, Dad, it's a TV.
Yeah.
Like,
You're like,
because in her eyes it's definitely television. I was funny. Like, wow, like that's the new era, man. Yeah. But it's benefits to it too. It's benefits, but the fact that we have to retain information, we know how to use those resources. Yeah. So I think that's
with all those things just come down to parenting at that point, which obviously that's like the toughest thing in the world, right? Because talk about something that's ever changing, always changing. That's the thing, I think even with us, when the internet came out, our parents were like, should they be on that? You know what I'm saying? And then like, as the school system started integrating it more, parents are like, okay, I guess they have to be on the internet to get their homework done. Right. And that was the same thing with like phones and iPads and stuff. It's like, oh, well, some of their classes are online or, whatever the case is. I think a lot of it too is like you watch what's on the iPad and so we can watch the football game or something,
Yeah,
so it's like,
man. I mean, that's the way, man. I was a caseworker for about 8 years.
Okay.
I worked with kids, just helping them get to college.
How'd you get into that, by the way?
My mentor, I told you about, actually. So I was during undergrad, he gave me a job.
Okay.
Because I was, moving around, very similar to you. And I was complaining one day on Facebook. So he said, hey man, if you want a job opportunity, I'll give you a job.
There you go.
So it was, I was like, hey man, I need the money. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, work.
I ran from the school to downtown Jacksonville. Literally. So I pull up to, this at the time they had no etiquette. So I'm at the interview, I'm sweating, I still got on like my street clothes, you know what I'm saying? He was just like, what's going on? So I'm like, hey man, I just came for the job opportunity. He was like, I like the hunger. Definitely.
Yeah.
So he gave me the job. I worked as an enrichment coordinator for like 3 years.
Okay.
And I ended up transitioning to case management after college.
Okay.
So as going into that, you start to see that there's a huge gray area when it comes to kids.
Sure.
A huge gray area. And the reason why I say that is because first and foremost, we don't, and I hate to say this, we don't set these kids up for success.
Sure.
We due to the fact that we live in more of I would say technologically advanced world.
Yeah.
We have these kids think that they're like mistake proof.
Sure.
So this, it's a lot of slaps on the wrist.
Yeah.
And then when they get 18.
Yeah.
And life, and then
there's no more.
Yeah, it's no more. The consequences. Yeah. But it's not even just like them getting in trouble, but whether it be financial.
Right.
Sure. Whether it be, addictions, things of those like real things that have long-term effects, we push off in their teenage years, and it's because of that market drives our economy, so to speak. Yeah. Because
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. It drives our economy.
And all the other institutions, that you lead, when you have a consequence, you go to jail, whatever the case is, most of them are privately owned. So obviously there's some incentive there.
Always an incentive.
It's just like an apartment building. We're not making money if it's 60% occupied.
Exactly. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. But like I always tell people, like, what's the difference between the left and right Twix?
Right.
And the reality of the situation is it doesn't matter. As long as you're arguing between what's left and the right, I can make money off of you.
Yeah, exactly.
The illusion of competition is the gag,
exactly.
And so it's easy, as a kid, it's easy to get caught up in that.
Sure.
I remember I was a kid, Gucci Mane and Jeezy was the biggest argument ever. You know what I'm saying? And now, but this is
absolutely.
As a dude, but now it's just like, now I'm looking, I was like, wow, it didn't matter what they was doing.
Exactly.
Because
you can make it. The thing is too, I think going through college too, and even some high school classes, you learn debate, right?
Yeah.
And the reason, and even watching Stephen A. and being annoyed by Skip and all that stuff too, they taught us debate, right? They taught us that on some level that it's not about right or wrong. It's about even lawyers, right? It's just supporting your argument,
right?
So it's like we might leave this room saying LeBron over MJ or vice versa based on where the support was in that specific argument.
Right.
But tomorrow you might come back with more facts and I'd be like, dang, I don't have anything to say to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like, so
it's subjective. Yeah. Everything is subjective.
Everything's subjective.
Everything's subjective nowadays, especially right and wrong. It's definitely subjective.
Which I think is good, bro. I think that's maturing. We're realizing that, right? Because then you can have a conversation with anybody. I think when we're younger and as we're maturing, it's like we only see things one way, either the way that we've experienced it or the way we were taught. You know what I'm saying? And that third way was it took time, right? So it's like, man, after having those 30 jobs in college, and I worked with 30 different people that came from 30 different incomes, 30 different religions, whatever. It's like, okay, now I can, it's not about being right or wrong. It's just like, can I make them a connection? Are they a bridge? Right.
Yeah.
You know,
that exposure,
Yep.
you know, and when you have limited exposure, unfortunately, or if you only expose to negative things, it's just, you kind of get caught up in that repetitive cycle. And I had to go through the process of removing myself from that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's just part of it, bro.
That's a huge
I think
part of
everyone
it.
has to go through that in their own way, right? And I always say everyone goes through the same things in life. It's just at different times. You know what I'm saying? You might lose a parent at 60. You might lose a parent at 12. You know what I'm saying? You might have a kid at 20. You might have a kid at 40. You know what I'm saying? You graduate at 40. You graduate at 25, whatever the case is. But, you know what I'm saying? Like it just, and like you said, like the people that are able to figure out the connection part, weed out the bad, you know, influences early are obviously going to have, you know, more success early because they're getting rid of the negativity, focusing on good energy. You know
and energy returns. It's crazy you say that because we were initially supposed to meet on the 27th.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what's funny is the last time I seen you was at
Gasper
the year before, and I was thinking about that. But energy works that way.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago too, because it wasn't the year before; it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, right. So I was like, wow. But the energy works like that, and we often don't think about that, you know, because you have good karma, right? And you have bad karma, unfortunately. So whatever energy you put out is going to come back, or even if the way you carry yourself, the law of attraction, you know, that stands out. And I took years practicing that. Yeah, you talked about Stephen A. like Max Kellerman.
Yeah,
how I used to write my papers in his voice because he never stutters.
Yeah,
like ever. So I literally sit up there and watch him like, okay, why do they never study? Mm-hmm. And then when he stutters, he apologizes like, excuse me, sorry. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
like he realizes it. He's thinking so much fat, you know, he talks. So it's like,
And I worked on that. I worked on that for a long period of time. Like as I transitioned into corporate America to have a stronger understanding of myself and kind of find my speaking voice.
Which is important too, because if you're young in corporate America, if you're a person of color in corporate America, it's like you already have, you know, you're kind of behind the 8 ball, so to speak, from an expectation standpoint. Yeah. Everyone always thinks about race. It's not about that. It's about the expectations are actually higher. Yeah. Right. Because now it's like, oh, like this guy, he's young, he's in here, he must be a killer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like you know, must be a superstar. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're held to a higher standard. Yeah, you are here to a higher standard. And the simple fact is you have to understand, which I didn't understand. Yeah. You know, you have to understand that there are people there are individuals in that same room who've put their life's work into it. Absolutely. So like for example, this is a small example. I worked in HR for about 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. Like they still ask for them to get 10 years of background. Yeah. You know, they're not really checking for 10 years. Right. You know, we want to see if you're 30. Right. Because if I bring you here at 25 and this guy's 46 and he's been here this whole time, he's going to be like, wait a minute, he has a higher position than me and I've been sitting here. Yeah, it's a big thing. It's going to cause a clash, Absolutely. You know, so you have to pay your dues, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But that's in every lane you do in life. You got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues or you got to just be so good that they're like, you gotta knock the socks off. You gotta knock your socks off. Yeah, that's what it gotta be. Yeah. So it's part of it, man. I mean, trust me, I've been in the corporate world now for a while, and I work for a national real estate company. And, I worked my way up. I'm a senior managing director. Right. I run the national practice for the specialty there, and you know, it took a while for me to get there, but I'm 30 years old. You know, and you know, so relatively speaking, I got there 15, 20 years early from somebody that holds that position. Oh, definitely. You know what I'm saying? But you know, with climbing by reaching the top rungs of, you know, certain ladders quick, it's good because then you realize what it comes with. And if you're able to realize what it comes with at an earlier age, then you can realize if this is where you want to be. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like looking at a blank canvas and seeing the painting before you draw it. Some people can, they're artists, and the ones that can't, they're spectators, right? Of the art, right? And same thing when you can look at a blank lot in the neighborhood, but you can picture that house and how it's designed and the architecture and all that good stuff, right? Some people can't. They're just like, show me some custom, you know, show me some models, I'll pick one, right? So it's the same thing in the corporate world. A lot of times you can't see, even like if you're like, I want to have this position in 5 years, you can't really see what that comes with sometimes until you get into it. You know what I'm saying? And I think the earlier that you can get into those positions, then the earlier you can see, like, it, you know, is it for you, just like anything else in life? You know Definitely. And because heavy is the head that wears the crown. Yeah. You know, it was one of my influencers that I look into is Jay Shetty. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. He lived with a month for like a year. Yeah. You know, and he talks about
being able to live with the process.
Right.
Can you live with it every day?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we want the results.
We want the results, overnight.
We want the results. We don't want microwave. We don't want the process. But it's how we're bred nowadays. You scroll on social media, you see the highlights.
Yep.
We all see highlights.
Yeah.
We don't see we basically just see the duck on the water. We don't see the feet kicking, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
So many people are chasing the duck on the water as opposed to actually learning how to get their feet kicking.
Right.
And me, I would say the huge part of my journey was getting that feet kicking.
Sure.
Get my feet kicking, my feet kicking, diving into this, building a network, starting it.
But I feel like you've done that, man. I mean, obviously, like I can only see what I see on social
media. Right.
But and I wanted to ask you too. I know we're jumping around here, but I wanted to ask you about the book because I know you wrote a book, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about that process, kind of what started that, and I saw some of the different jobs that you posted about that you've had, and then I saw the book, and I'm like, man, so you really are diving into different things, which obviously is just, building up your resume, so to speak, your life resume.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which is more important than your career resume. But like how'd the book start, and like, do you have plans for more books, or kind of is that something that you got into and you realized more of what it was, and then, decided that, there was some benefits to it, but maybe you wanted to focus your energy elsewhere, or kind of like,
I mean, with the book situation, I actually started a book, I want to say 2014.
Okay.
I was just doing it because I was bored.
Right.
I was being completely, but passion comes that way. I was doing it because I was bored. So I got a lot of attraction on it, but I wasn't making any money.
Sure.
But you can't do everything for the money.
No.
And this, we're at the age where that, but not even just that. With chasing your passion, the money will come.
Yeah, exactly.
All in due time.
Yeah.
So eventually, the first actual book I was supposed to, I didn't even do it. I just pretty much strapped it. I was like, oh man. So, but in my free time, it would bother me.
Okay.
It would bother me. Like I didn't do it.
But didn't finish it.
It didn't finish it. And then I ended up releasing Power Affirmations. This was just literally, I would have like almost these quotes or affirmations that were coming to me daily. Things I didn't feel like I was getting from the universe.
Right.
And I ended up dropping in that book, I had 160 just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And then I got a new book coming out this Valentine's Day, Cigars and Cocktails.
Okay.
It's actually a poetry book.
Okay.
How did I get into it? I have no idea.
Yeah.
It kind of came to it. Maybe
it's your love for music mixed with, trying to think deeper.
And that's the thing about it as well. But I would sum it up to when I made the separation and found the network.
Yeah.
I didn't I have all this free time now.
Sure.
When you replace the bad habits with the good habits. So it's just like, okay, I don't have nothing to do but right.
That's good, man.
And so I would say that's the benefit of it. But being in corporate America, not to cut you off, but being in corporate America, I think that everyone needs a guide, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or even being an entrepreneur, you need a guide. And I adapted a lot of books, like Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power.
Yep.
That was huge for me. Let's see, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, huge book for me. The Dream Giver, Bruce Wilkinson. Okay. Because I didn't have, I would say, these networks. I was a network at hand, so I had to find the best way I can.
Which is smart. I mean, you're just using the resources that are available. And a lot of people have those available too, especially with the tablets and the phones. So,
man, I'm telling you,
reading's big.
And when Betty White, when she passed away, they said, I swear I heard more, and they said she leaves behind a massive 80-year body of work. And it made me think, what's going to be my body of work?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
What are you leaving behind?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? No, and dude, at this time, the thing is like, time is flying, bro. Time is flying, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the thing is, too, we always never think it's going to happen to us in regards to like, oh, I'm not going to die at 32. I'm not going to be that one. And even though we all know a bunch of people that have not even made it to 30.
Exactly.
For various reasons, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Even people our parents' age that might, pass away in their 50s or before 60, wherever the case is. And I think that's part of what makes human beings able to achieve great things. It's because on some level, I think you have to think it's not going to happen to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why we're working so hard, so I can,
I don't live in that
live to be 100. That's why I'm eating healthy and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like realizing that, like, it's all in God's hands, and like, He'll call you when it's time, and that time could be tomorrow, right? And so, we almost have, an immediate sense of urgency to start compiling what we're going to leave behind or be known for. Yeah. The things that we think we're going to be known for, we won't be. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
The things that we like to think that we'd be known for. It's like, maybe the people around you, maybe like your family and your close friends, but what about people that aren't your family and closest friends? What will they know you for?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And legacy is huge to me. That's like, to me, honestly, I always said I want my name to outlive my flesh.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, man, money is not going to be the thing that they remember you for.
No,
it's going to be the least thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are just chasing the dollars.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I ain't gonna lie. I spent about a year. I was just chasing the money.
Yeah.
I wasn't really care. But now, when the smoke clears,
yeah.
you tend to see things a little bit more clearly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like, I think there's different, like when you're living, a lot of times you start off in survival, right?
Yes.
And a lot of that might start off in elementary school, right?
Yeah.
But it may not end. It ends for people at different times, right?
Definitely.
It could end in high school if your parents, get on their game or just get lucky or God blesses them. It could end in college once you're able to start contributing enough to like help your own trajectory. So I think once you're able to move from survival mode to just like adulthood, I would say, because I would say you're not in adulthood until you're out of survival mode.
Definitely.
Right. And I think when you're in survival mode, that it is about the money, because the money is keeping you surviving.
Exactly.
Whether it's the food in your belly, like a roof over your head, having enough money to give somebody to sleep on their couch, like it all comes down to money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then once you can kind of get past that, then you're like, okay, there's a million ways for me to just stay out of survival mode.
Right.
So then you start, your brain's allowed to start thinking differently. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, when they say people, when you get drunk and you have like the goggles, like you see things differently.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Or if you're hungry and people get like, hangry or whatever they call it, like hangry and stuff, it's the same thing. When you're in survival mode, you can't even like be creative and think of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
And I was just going to say that it's like that creativity and or abundance begins to flow now that you have an open mindset. And whether it's survival mode or even just being angry, you're narrow-minded.
Yep.
You're only seeing one way.
Yep.
And that's the limitation of success.
Absolutely.
Even independence. A lot of days we talk about independence, but independence is the limitation of connections.
Yeah.
You doing everything by yourself. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. There's like nobody wants to be in that position.
There's a reason why teamwork is teamwork, right?
Oh yeah,
in any facet, whether it's sports, in the office, in your family, in the church, like everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So there's a reason why it's the backbone of every organization.
Everything. And that goes back to surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yep.
And I would say for me, building a team.
Yeah.
I'm in this place where I'm just building a team in different avenues as well too. Everybody has different characteristics, different things they can bring to the table.
Absolutely.
So we all can create to this creativity. Add to the creativity that we all like, and that's ideal for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the environment I'm looking for.
What are you doing right now day to day? You said you're back in the corporate world now. So what are you doing?
Yes. As of right now, I'm doing contract management for Harper Winbach.
Okay.
So I'm basically writing up the contracts myself, for places like Disney, HCA hospitals, pretty much all through over Florida.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for about a year or two. I'm also taking a course online with Harvard Business School.
Okay.
I'm taking a business.
You're always doing some school, bro.
Yeah. But because
were you always good at school? Was that something that you were always good at?
No. I was never always good at school. I'm not gonna lie like that. I've dropped, and this is a true story. I've dropped out of school on every level.
Yeah.
I've dropped out of high school.
Yeah.
I dropped out of college twice.
Yeah.
I dropped out of grad school.
Shoot.
So even when people see me, they be like, "Oh man," but like, yeah, but I dropped out like 3 or 4 times.
Hey, you go back there. A lot of people never go back. So.
Yeah, but something is because
you just don't like to leave something hanging.
It was that.
Yeah.
It was that, and breaking a generational curse.
Yeah.
We didn't have anybody that had, at least in my neighborhood and or family, that kind of set the tone.
Right.
So, and I felt like if you're going to be the person that changes the trajectory of things, you're going to have to.
It's got to start with you.
It got to start with you, and you can't quit. And you can't quit, regardless of what's going on. And as many times as I said that and then quit again, it happens all the time. But I always get back up, kind of like a Rocky Balboa mentality.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
And it's funny, maybe just think of something too. It's like, as you break generational curses, especially from a financial literacy standpoint or education standpoint, higher learning, it's funny because I used to think, man, like, and everyone probably thinks this, but when I was a kid, I used to be like, man, if somebody just gave me like $100, or if they just gave me $1,000, like I'd be able to do this and that, or I'd be able to buy this, and just, you had such a mindset of like, I'm talking about very young age, right?
Right.
Of somebody just kind of giving it to you, or not like on a consistent basis, but just like a one-time thing, like a lottery type of situation, right? But then like, fast forward to when you're older, you're like, man, like the last thing you need is for me to give you $100. You needed me to give you $100 worth of game. Like you need to sit down and like, let me talk to you for an hour. I'm like, how I can help you budget, how I can help you get out of like where you're at now,
Right.
And it's crazy because it's tough to have that conversation with people that are in survival mode, like we just talked about. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but that's what it is. It's just game. Because even me and, they always say like, oh, dinner with Jay-Z or 500 grand, Yeah. I think that's a tough question because maybe if you're not trying to be a rapper, kind of go his way, then it's maybe I'll take the 500 grand and then have a conversation with somebody else. But I get the premise, right? It's like, do you want the game or do you want the instant gratification? The 500 grand is going to be taxed and you're not going to know what to do with it because you have no game still.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
saying? And you just said something key, man. Instant gratification,
yeah,
versus delayed gratification. Long-term success versus short-term rewards, man. Yeah. And I think that, for me, I would say understanding delayed gratification. Yeah. Almost like Warren Buffett, snowball effect.
Yeah.
Building that compound interest.
Compound and
and I've been doing that. Yeah. I'll definitely say I've been doing that. Now, building a team of people who like building
like-minded,
who are like-minded.
Yeah.
But
it's gonna take some time.
Right. It takes time, especially if you come from survival mode, because now everybody is in survival mode.
Right.
And then once you leave survival mode, doesn't mean the people that you've left behind, so to speak, are still there.
Right.
Or do you have to conform to go back to be around them?
Exactly.
And now you're back in survival.
It's a balancing act.
It's a balancing act. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, especially when family's involved, it's a tougher situation. You know what I'm saying? But, and again, that's why when you see headlines on TV and stuff, you never know what's real or what's actually accurate. But, you always hear whether it's celebrities, sports figures or actors or whatever, and they have an exchange, one of their family members upset at them, like, oh, they never come around. And, it's like, well, maybe like you're not a good person to be around them. They're going here, you're over here. And all we hear is like, Joe Rogan doesn't talk to his dad. That's crazy. It's like, well, where's his dad at? Like, what is his dad up to? Like, what is he doing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And because truth be told, family, friends, or whatever, so we speak, like I said, assets or liabilities. You need to add and then you taking away.
Yep.
And a lot of times, unfortunately, people that we love the most take away.
Yeah.
It's because they only see you inside of a certain bubble.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So you being the successful person on the billboard, it may be just too much for them to comprehend, or they may not understand why they got
keeps that even possible. Like you said, they see the duck on the top, they don't see the, it's like, I still got a kick here so you to see this,
Yeah, definitely. It's like, well, how did you get the same cards as I did, but you have, your outcome is better than mine. Some people can't understand that.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is too, it's like, it's like you said, the left and the right, it's like everyone's trajectory is going to be different because in theory, everyone should be chasing something different. Right.
Right.
Which is based on your passions. Right.
Right.
And again, once you have like certain things set up, then it's like, and that's like the power of having a good relationship or a strong marriage is once you guys are able to solidify certain pillars, right? Solidify the car situation, the roof over your head situation, and figure out a budget to cover living expenses. Then it's like, man, let's spend all of our energy and time supporting each other's passions, right?
Right.
Because again, it might be something that doesn't bring $1 to you guys for 10 years, but think about that life resume that you got to spend 10 years with guaranteed one person supporting, your passion while you already had the only thing that's important is if you have those three things, right? You have the roof over your head, you can feed yourself, whatever the case is, and you can get from A to B. You have that figured out. You're never going to be a liability to anybody else in your life, your family, your friends, nobody else. Right.
Right.
So if you're not a liability to anybody else, and then it's like, that's what you're supposed to do. Spend the rest of your time growing your faith and growing your passions. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, definitely. And, my fiance is actually an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And
there you go.
She, like I said, she's from the area, and, I support her wholeheartedly in everything that she does, and I say that.
Where we all like were, or we started, obviously, even if it's from the outside looking in, it's just like we all started in the same way. We were just in the classroom trying to get through it, playing sports, a lot of us played sports because we thought that was the only way.
Yeah.
I know that's when I started.
Yeah, that's definitely why I started.
And then by like senior year, I still love sports, but just by playing every sport, just being gassed out, even all the out of high school sports leagues. And then you get to college and you realize like life is so much bigger than sports. And no matter how good you are, if you have that one injury, it doesn't matter anyways.
It don't matter. And the thing about it is, if you don't have financial literacy, it don't matter how far you go.
Exactly.
And then at the same time, sports limits creativity. People don't want to say that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the truth.
Definitely does.
So, because you talk work, get here, get here, get here.
It's so regimented that there's no room for creativity.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You're already gassed. I mean, that's one thing, a lot of people that when they're trying to I wouldn't even say get out of corporate, because a lot of people aren't even in corporate. They're really just in like a 9 to, just in workforce, labor force. And the reason why it's so hard to get out of that is because to get out of that, it's what you do between 5 to 10, right? But if you're already so mentally exhausted, not to mention if you have a family at home too, but if you're just so mentally exhausted, it's tough to be creative, right? So again, if you work on being purposeful every single day, then you know what you need to work on, so that even if you're gassed when you get off of work, you don't have to be creative and figure out what you need to do. You already know what to do. Yeah, now it's just knock it out.
It's definitely, and it's going to stick with you. You know, like, because there's only 2 types of habits: addictive or productive.
Right.
You're either doing something that you're addicted to or something that's going to produce.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And most people, unfortunately, after the 9 to 5, they get off. It goes straight to the addictive.
Exactly.
I had a long day, man. I need to smoke. I need to, you know what I'm saying? Whatever I got to do.
Yep.
They don't want to go back to being productive.
Right.
And but if it's your passion, it doesn't feel like a hassle.
It doesn't feel like work. Yeah.
It's natural. This is who I am. This is what I do.
Exactly. And that's why I say, like, sometimes it's like there could be positive in the comfort, right? And certain things that you do, it's like, man, like if you find the absolute comfort in sitting on the couch and watching a certain TV show, like, dive into it. Is it just TV, or is it a type of show that you're watching? Maybe it's sports, right?
Right.
Is it a certain sport that you watch? Is it a certain team that you're watching? You can dig deeper into that, and then you can, again, find a million jobs out of, a football team, right? It's like you can go work for the Bucks, right? The Bucks have hundreds of positions.
Yes, they do.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not just about like, so it's like, I even say that people that are lazy, right? So it's like, oh, like they're so lazy. They didn't do the dishes. They didn't do this. It's like, okay, they probably were lazy because those things didn't get done and they needed to get done. So yeah, they got to work on that. But the positive spin to that is that they realize they don't like doing dishes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a sense of reflection, right? It's still, you still have to realize what you don't like doing, right?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to like housework too, which is perfect, there's some things like all of it's housework. You'd rather not do it, but there's some things you don't mind doing, right? Like some people don't mind vacuuming because it's like, it's kind of like
therapeutic.
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 It's someone's getting clean, they're doing it, so there's certain things that you're like, I don't want to do it, but I don't mind doing it. Things like I hate dishes, whatever the case is. So it's like, all right, let's divvy them up based on things that like one of us hates and one of us doesn't really hate. You know what I'm saying? So
I feel that because I have a weird tick for ironing clothes, man.
Yeah.
I could do push-ups while ironing clothes. Yeah. Washing the dishes, I mean, we got a dishwasher for that. That's that job. So I feel like how you delegate tasks does go a long way. And then, like you said, finding your space inside of another space can be true. Because everybody can't be a LeBron James,
right?
Just based on your anatomy, talent level. But you can be a Stephen A. if you work hard enough.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So you have to be comfortable with being able to maneuver within your passion.
Yeah. Exactly.
And understanding that you can. A lot of times that we don't have that exposure to understand that, hey man, there's this. Especially this is technology. We're in the internet area. There's nothing that you really can't do if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too is like self-awareness, right? So it's like, if you want to be a rapper, right?
Yeah.
And again, anything takes time, but I'm just going to use the example of somebody who wants to be a musician. I would just say, not rapper, just a musician. It's like, that's really tough to get into, right? To be successful at it, basically. Not to start, but to be successful.
Definitely.
But the market's the market. So I'm not going to say you're going to figure it out in one year, because it might take you 3 years to even find your voice, right?
Yeah.
And even your genre and your writing style and the production that works for you, all that good stuff, right? But even once you find that out, by like year 5, you're going to know if that's your path or not, simply because if you're self-reflecting and you're self-aware, the market will accept it or they won't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you might have small wins along the way. And again, those small wins might be like somebody says, hey, I don't like when you sing it, but I'll sing it. I'll pay you for that, right? It's like, okay, maybe I have a lane as a writer. Maybe I have a lane in production, right? Like you said, shifting within, like you thought music was your passion. It is, but not to be the star. It is to be the star behind the scenes, right?
Right.
Whatever the case is, but it's self-awareness, right? It's just realizing it is a skill to work hard for something that might take 10 years to achieve, but also realize ahead of time that it may not get there because you're a little slightly off the track, right?
Right.
And that's normally pride and ego. Like, oh, I want to do this. I want to prove to everyone. It's like, well, you can prove everyone wrong by proving yourself right by just shifting a little bit.
right,
and still being successful in a slightly different lane that's still under like the macro realm of what you wanted to be in.
Right. And truth be told, I don't care what lane you're in life, whether you're an athlete, you're an entertainer, if you're in corporate, and I'll get into that, such as myself. Eventually, you got to shift anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the caveat.
Shift as you age too.
Yeah, you got to shift that because eventually, you know, if you're an athlete, your body's going to give you out.
Yep.
If you're a musician, eventually your songs are going to get old.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to find a way to transition anyways. And like even with me, you know, I work for some huge companies, man. I work for Ernst & Young, I work for Price Waterhouse Cooper, of course, JP Morgan. I've worked for currently work for Harper Limbaugh.
Those are big heavy hitters.
Yeah, I work for some heavy hitters, you know, and at first it was just about getting in the door.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It was the biggest thing. Get to the table.
Get to the table.
In the game.
Get in the game. Get in the game. It was like, oh, I'm here an hour early every day.
Yeah.
And now that I'm here, and it's like, okay, I've been in this space. You know, I'm somebody who can say, you know, I went to school, I got my degrees, but you know something, I got a job that actually led me to a position.
Yep.
And now that I'm here, it's just like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
You know what
Which
I'm
is good, man. You know, that's why I love that Drake song, What's Next?
What's next? Yeah.
And that's why there's always going to be, you know, we've been talking about music a lot, but, you know, I think there's a lot of inspiration to be taken from the athletes and the musicians because they have to keep, you know, as you age in basketball, you have to get a shot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you don't have a shot, you got to get a shot. You can't just be dunking for 20 years in the NBA.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to refine your game. As a musician, you got to keep making new songs, right? You got to get into business endeavors, right? As a comedian, you can't just do stand-up. You have to get into TV shows. You have to get in, obviously podcasting was huge. You know, it's like you said, everyone has to make that shift. But I think that's why, you know, the guys that are leading the charge and the ladies that are leading the charge, you know, just asking that question, what's next? You know what I'm saying? There's always something next. So, you know, you're never going to be, fulfilled chasing certain things because there's always going to be that question of what's next.
Definitely. And honestly, like, I know a lot of people jumped on the wave after he passed away, but I'm one of the biggest Nipsey Hussle fans ever, you know, and he speaks about that, you know what I'm saying, like extensively, just a marathon, you know what I'm saying, sticking with it, you know, and setting every goal high, laying a brick a day, you know, and being able to, and like you said, if you lay a brick a day and then one day you look up, you'll have a mansion.
Exactly.
But you got to be comfortable or just turning your stop signs into speed bumps.
And Nipsey's great too, because obviously of that message, but obviously because he died, he got so much more notoriety from people that maybe necessarily never even knew him. Maybe heard a song or two, but didn't know it was like him that was singing that song.
Yeah, definitely.
But they don't realize that he, in multiple facets, whether it was business, music, he wasn't even leading the charge there. He was just, he was still in the game. Yeah. He was in the game, but people were probably like, oh, he didn't have it figured out. He was what he was preaching was really what he was striving for. He was telling himself that. He was like, it's a marathon, because he wasn't a top 10 rapper. He wasn't a top 10 business guy. He wasn't any of that. But he had a lot of small wins in a lot of different categories, which was building his empire slowly but surely. But, you know, a lot of times when people look at the moguls, they're like, oh, well, Drake already has everything. Jay-Z already has everything. You know, it's like, you know, what about, you know, those are two guys out of everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, you know, it's just interesting. You know, people think you have more than what you have, and they don't realize that, like, a lot of the stuff that people talk about is because they're living it.
Right. And on top of that is the simple fact is you have to tell yourself these affirmations.
Yeah.
Before you get there, you have to feel like you're this person before you become this person.
Absolutely.
Sigmund Freud refers to it as your id. You have to look into yourself.
I mean, is there anything that you told yourself that you wanted to do that you haven't been able to do yet?
Not at all.
Isn't that crazy?
Not at all.
And you look back at, you know, you've accomplished a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, to some people that might be small. To some people that could be huge. To some people that could be what they're striving for right now, right?
Right.
But again, like, once you tell yourself, like, I'm going to try to do this, you know, it's crazy how it always works, bro. It's the cliche of, like, speak it into existence.
And it works every time.
It works every time, bro. It works every time.
And the crazy thing about it is it doesn't happen on your timing. That's the key.
Yeah.
It's never like how you think it is.
Yeah.
But it always ends up booming back around.
Ends up working.
Yeah, ends up working out for you.
Or you're on path for it, right? It's like, oh, I didn't get this yet, but I'm like, if I do these 10 more things, I'll be there. Like, I know how to get there. I just have to do them. You know, it's all like, you know, within time.
And I feel like passion is that one thing that you can't quit at.
Can't.
You know what I'm saying? You can't quit it. Like, even when I wrote a book for the first time, but I was writing in high school, but I kept just
putting it off.
You know what I'm saying? And it just started coming back, But then the message changed within it too.
Yeah.
So maybe I was going through it to kind of like build a message to have to write about, or to speak about.
Yeah. No, it's important, man. It's important. I mean, I think for you, I think it's like you said, so many things that you paused and came back and pushed play on.
Yeah.
I think it's important for a lot of people, man, because I think a lot of people have paused on a lot of things, and like I said, most people never go back and push play. So I think that's like, just from like a positive influence and somebody looking up to what you're doing. I think that's important, right? Because I think a lot of people, they did drop out of school, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people did quit writing that poem or writing that book or, writing that song or whatever they're doing, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, yeah, just get back out there. You know what I'm saying?
It's that, but during that process, it was a lot of goodbyes.
Yeah. For sure.
So it's like I quit this, but I would notice like on a routine basis, it's just like I had to say goodbye to this person.
Yeah.
Or I had to say goodbye to this situation.
Sure.
And all of a sudden when I do this is like 10 times easier now that I've separated myself from this energy.
No, exactly.
And I would say that's the biggest benefit of it. That's the hugest benefit of it. And, a lot of times we want to hold on to things that's weighing us down.
Yeah.
More than likely things we love, of course, I have my problems too.
Of course.
I have my problems too. But I said goodbye to them.
Yeah.
And I think deciphering what leaves and what goes, is going to be a huge part of success as well.
Yeah. 100%. Sometimes we try to tell ourselves we can't say goodbye to something because of what somebody else might think about it. But it's normally not that. It's normally us. I mean, it's normally for selfish reasons. Yeah. Most things that we do, even for good reasons, are selfish reasons.
Definitely.
Even when the person that visits you at the hospital, they're doing it probably 51% for them and 49% for you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
It's, so it's like, and it's about a lot of things that we do in life, right? It's like there's good intentions behind it, but the underlying motivation could be selfish in nature.
Definitely. Because it's like, I'm going to see you at the hospital, like, I know I got to make sure that I'm a good person.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I'm saying? Even though I want to make sure you're okay, I don't want to be the guy.
There's still some good stuff there, but it's it's the optics of stuff, right? So let's shift a little bit. What's your daily routine look like for you, or like weekly routine? Like what's kind of, not just from a job perspective, but certain things that you whether it's like fitness or just meditation or what are certain like stuff that you have to that's important for you to stay on track.
On track. One, I'm up every day at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
5 o'clock club. I'm a 5 o'clock club. I'm running every day.
Yeah.
Trust me, this is the fight for my life, and I'm going at it.
Yeah. It's important.
Definitely. Outside of work, let's leave work off the table. Reading, that's huge for me.
Okay.
Reading and networking. Mm-hmm. Those two things for sure.
Do you have like a goal of pages per week, books per year? What's kind of, or just like always actively just
always? I would say always actively, because a lot of books I've come back to.
Sure.
And I've applied whatever I've learned from that book in different areas of life.
Yeah.
So I would say I read about 2 or 3 books a week.
Okay.
Not full books. Not the whole thing.
Just diving into them.
Diving into them.
Yeah.
And I actually have a binder that says my 10-year goals.
Okay.
I have a team. I literally got a huge binder. Mm-hmm. And I've been putting stuff in there since freshman year.
Nice.
And I contribute. That's a mandatory. As far as meditation, my woman's getting me there.
Yeah.
She's getting me there. I'm learning to have a clear mind. When you're so busy at times, you'll forget that. You'll definitely forget that. Mm-hmm. But I'm getting that. I can say this though. Believe it or not, I used to be heavy on video games, man.
Yeah.
I used to be heavy.
So that means you were good.
What? Go. Yeah. But at the same time, that's one of the things I had to kind of like. So like I replace my time I spent with video games, with reading.
Okay.
So I'll do reading in that I'll do reading in the spare time. Or if I'm going out, don't get me wrong, I love the cigar bar.
Yeah.
So I go there, and that's why I get my inspiration to write.
Okay.
Obviously, my book's called Cigars and Cocktails.
Yeah,
so with that being said, a lot of my free time comes there. But I would say my day to day is normally gym, eating healthy, prayer.
Yep.
That's huge.
It's important.
Whether you were leaving God, Allah, Buddha, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But in reality situation, manifestation. Right. Some form of manifestation. Absolutely. Where I'm going. And reason why I say fitness is because if I'm not into it, my life doesn't seem to feel like I want to.
Right.
Me having to go there, like it really helps me.
For sure.
And or it bothers me, or I start doing things, unfortunately, down the downside, because idle time is a devil workshop.
Right.
So if you have time that you're not applying anything, that's when the negativity comes.
Absolutely.
And I want to make sure I'm
complacency and just getting comfortable in the moment. And,
yeah,
I'll do it tomorrow.
Right. And I do it tomorrow. Or you watching these shows on Netflix that really just stealing your life force. They hold no value.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. They done called me a couple times.
Yeah.
What I'm saying? What I'm saying? Everybody's human. But at the same time, for that to be a consistent routine and not have anything productive going.
Right.
And financial literacy. I'm always drawing that.
Yep.
Assets for dummies. I read it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Building my financial portfolio, that's been huge for me, huge for myself. Understanding ownership, like you said, you spoke about earlier, bringing a lot to the table.
Yep.
And as of right now, I'm just taking in as much stock as I can. Because
that's important.
As much, that way when I come to the table or I have the network that I want to have, I'm an asset,
right?
As opposed to being a liability,
right?
Yeah, no,
that's important, man. And the thing is there's no timetable to that. It's like, it's just like you're just adding tools to your toolbox. So then when something breaks, it's like you have the tool in the toolbox to fix it. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that's ever changing, that's ever growing. But no, I think that's a good routine. I mean, I told myself this and it started working. So I started telling other people this is if you feel like you're in a rut, if you feel like there's just a large percentage of negative energy on a daily basis, right, whether it's internally, externally, you just can't shake it. Some people are just not as strong-willed or strong-minded, and they really are a product of the different environments that they're in throughout the day, right? They're a different person at home that they are at work, that they are at the gym, wherever they're at, right? They're just a chameleon. They just kind of like blend into whoever, right? And I always tell them, man, like just start your day earlier. Like when do you get up? At 8, get up at 6.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You get up at 7, get up at 5. Because I feel like most problems from an energy perspective, enough time in the day perspective, can be solved by just getting up earlier. Yeah. It's crazy, And, some people have to get up early for their job. That means you're off earlier. You know what I'm saying? So it's like stay up later. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's just get more out of your day, because typically people that are stuck in a rut or in kind of from negative energy, it's because their day is pretty short. They're in bed for 8 to 10 hours of that 24 hours. So you have a 14-hour day compared to somebody that has an 18-hour day. Right. So just mathematically and statistically, if a couple things that don't go your way happen, you throw it off because the percentage is already high because you're only up for 14 hours. If I'm up for 18 hours and 2 hours of my day suck, that's okay. I got 16 other hours I'm awake. I'm going to make them great. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just the probability. It's a percentage game, right?
Right.
And going off of that, I always also tell people, when I'm asking about their routine or kind of what their day consists of, I always kind of make the case that you can't put a quarter more than 4 places, meaning that you have 4 buckets to fill up, right?
Right.
You can double up some of those buckets, right? So if I double up 2 buckets, I got 50% here, then I only have 2 buckets left of 25, right? But the whole point is to get to $1, right? But you can't allocate less than 25% of your time into something and expect it to be successful.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Not at all. And the crazy thing about that is, it's like you say, if your cup's empty, you can't pour into another cup.
Right.
And at the end of the day, at least I can say for myself, no, I'll say this for everybody. When you build strong habits, your body will adjust.
Yeah.
When you at first get at 5 a.m. is a headache, but after you did it for about a week,
your body it
doesn't know anything about it. And you don't. It's funny. I don't even need an alarm clock.
Right. Yeah, what I'm saying? It's up here.
It's up here. My body's going to, okay, it's time to do this. It's time to shut down, because I've set those parameters in place. But you got to be comfortable enough in setting those parameters in place as well. And we talked about earlier about scheduling.
Yep.
You got to be comfortable with sticking to the schedule. Sticking to it, or even having flexibility within your schedule to take on new responsibilities.
Yep.
Because like you said, heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Absolutely. A lot of people too, you ask them to do something, or even somebody that has some stuff going on, right? I'm not saying nobody that has nothing going on, but even if they do have a job, they do some extracurriculars, they got a family, hey man, let's go play hoops, or let's go on a run, let's go do something, right? Like, I can't, I'm so busy. I always felt like you can't reply with "I'm so busy" if you don't keep a schedule.
Right.
How do you know?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, and I hold myself to it too. So if somebody asks me to do something, the first thing I check is my 2 calendars, right? And I'm checking, and if I don't have something there, and if it's something that could fill up one of those 4 buckets of mine, then I'm going to say yes to it. Right. Because I need to build this life resume. I need to like, there's not a reason for me not to say no if it can fill up one of my 4 buckets. Right. If it can't, then I'll say no, because then I need to save that time for something that can fill up my 4 buckets. Or if I have something planned, then I say, hey, I got something planned literally in that same time period. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But just being purposeful again, because a lot of times we're not purposeful when we say no, even. We're purposeful when we say yes, if anything, right. But never when we're saying no. So why am I saying no? I wanted to have a reason for why I said no to things.
Yeah, valid reason.
Yeah, valid reason. Instead of being like, I'm just too busy, and that could be just laziness. I'd rather sit on this couch and not get ready.
Right, and I'm not getting anything out of it. Not getting anything out of this, and I try my best. I can say as a person, I definitely try my best to get. I try the best to get rewards. I can say I'm gonna say physical, just financial, but inner and external rewards to myself and other people.
Sure.
Just based off of my actions.
Right.
And like you said, it goes back to giving a man a fish as opposed to giving him a fishing line.
Exactly.
Am I hindering you by giving you this?
Exactly.
That's my thought. That's definitely how I think. Because I don't want anybody hindering me by giving me something.
Right.
Exactly. It's almost like in college when they gave us these refund checks.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You had to have some diligence, or
you gotta have some. It's gone. It's gone. And it's the truth, man.
Yeah, I know.
But I definitely think about that. And people are gonna in life. What I've noticed, people are gonna, unless the successful people are high functioning, so to speak. They are going to, I wouldn't say judge you, but they're going to have a perception of you based on if they think they can give you a fish or a fishing line.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? They're definitely going to build a perception about you based on this.
Sure.
Like with this guy, let me think about his character. If I give him this fish, if I give him this may not end up like this.
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I'm saying? That can affect me. Even if it's almost like a job. If I bring you in as a reference and you do a terrible job, that's still a reflection on me.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So with that being said, I learned that, and I would definitely say that's a lane I'm walking in. I'm not even trying to, and it's not to be harsh or crucial, but I mean, not harsh, or if I can't give you a fishing pole, as opposed to giving you a fish, you may be a liability.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is a lot of people might start off as a liability, right?
Yeah.
And then you might say, you know what, because of our relationship or because of the upside that I do see your potential, in having, maybe I'll spend time with you. Right. For X amount of time. If I think you can get there. Yeah. And maybe you'll prove me wrong or right. That's yet to be determined. But no, I mean, people want to help other people that want to help themselves.
Exactly.
That's never going to change.
It's never going to change. And the simple fact is,
we see it every day when you see people on the side of the road asking for money, as opposed to a server at any restaurant. Right? Just or somebody that's selling flowers, right?
Yeah.
I'm more apt to buy the flower simply because they're trying to do some kind of value exchange, as opposed to like, hey, just give me $1.
Right. Because it's like support and contentment is gonna always bother my soul.
Yeah,
I don't care what nobody says.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
because nobody. Again, it's easy to say nobody did that for us, but at the same time, the things that we got help with is because we put ourselves in a position to get help. Right? We were actively like, oh yeah, I'll go pick up some trash. I'll go mow the lawn. I'll go, you're offering to do something. I'll help carrying the grocery, whatever the case is, and a lot of times, even the way I was raised it's crazy because, I was raised so poor and I was raised in the church too.
Right.
So I would have to go help, elderly in the church, and I wouldn't be allowed to take money. My parents were like, no, you can't take that $5.
Right.
I'm like, what do you mean? This is I went and got a job to go make $5, which is $5. And they're like, no, we're not taking $5 from Miss Jane. We're just going to help her. This is the right thing to do,
Right.
And so that was so crazy growing up so poor and realizing like when I could charge for help and when it wasn't right to charge, and that was like something that was so tough for me as a kid growing up. Even as a teenager, I'm like, man, like I thought I was supposed to go get a job, No. But it's tough.
It's definitely tough. And it's actually, as you transition to adulthood, it's also, I would say, definitely say, if it's hard to like basically pinpoint. Well, you start beginning to pinpoint when it's enabling.
Yeah.
Sure. It's just like, the love is there. Mm-hmm. It's like, I would love to help Miss Jane.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? but am I enabling by consistently doing this? Am I contributing to the problem?
Yeah. And that's what I learned too, is like all those situations, it was like, they were like one-offs, where it was just like helping somebody move in. And it's like we probably never helped them again type thing. And that's why they were trying to teach me like, hey, we're not gonna. They needed help. Like, you know what I'm saying? They wanted to teach me that you don't just help somebody because you're expecting something.
Right.
That was the lesson, you know, which is important too, because I think even this generation now, it's like, oh, what do I get? What do I get? Are you going to give me, you know, it's always like, what, you know, and you know, I know like one of the things that I always resonated with me that Gary Vee always talks about is just providing, just providing value up front. Provide value up front, expecting nothing in return, and then later on ask for service.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why he had that book, Jab, Jab, Right Hook.
Right.
But the jabs were like given the value. And then the right hook was when you ask them to actually, you know, do a sale type thing. Right. Basically saying like, don't expect people to support your business just simply because you have a business, right? Give them value up front. You know, that's what realtors do, right? They have videos that teach you what about an FHA loan, about a conventional loan, about how much down payment you need, yada, yada, yada. And then, you know, they gave you a whole bunch of questions answered. So now you know where to start. And then when you're ready to buy a house, you might go to them because they gave you so much value up front for free.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, listen, what's his name? One of my favorite movies, The Godfather.
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
It's literally how the movie starts. He was just like, I come to you, I need you to do the service for me. He was like, hey man, if you'd have just came to me and genuine curiosity, you'd have just naturally had it. Mm-hmm. You know, and oftentimes we tend to come to the table automatically expecting a return, you know, and the people are like, oh, I was going to do it for you just off the strength of who you were anyway. Exactly. You know, and the energy, like you said, the energy you put out always come back, you know, and sometimes, believe it or not, somebody telling you no could be sending you off, could be actually making you more resourceful.
It does, bro.
You know, it could be they could be pushing you into the right direction, right, or bringing out a aspect of your character that they wanted to see.
Exactly.
You know, and that's something that my mentor taught me. He had this talent, man. He can look at a downtown structural setting and tell you what it was just by looking at the buildings.
Really?
It was the scariest shit ever. You know,
was he ever like an architect in a previous life?
Not at all. No, he was just cameraman. He's like, that's Seattle. That's New York. Okay. That's Moscow.
Sky views,
yeah, I'm like, how do you do this? You know what I'm saying? But he would tell me no more than anybody I knew. You know what I'm saying? He'd be like, no.
Everyone needs somebody like that.
Yeah,
man.
But you know something? It built me up to be so strong, man. Like I can say for sure, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I rode the Greyhound, the Megabus, the Amtrak, pretty much any form of transportation you can. I've literally gotten from Manatee County to Jacksonville for $15. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you know, it's it's like in him telling me, hey, no. Have you looked at all of the resources? I'm like, yeah, man, I've called this person.
Yeah.
Nah, you haven't really looked into it.
Yeah.
And that kind of, it built my character, you know, and it made me more appreciative. But it also opened up my mind to like possibilities.
Right.
You know, so
it's it's opening up your mind from a positive perspective because it's teaching you to be solution oriented.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when you're solution oriented, you're asking internal questions to yourself.
Right.
When you want a handout, you're asking other people the questions.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what everything is in life. Find a solution to it. You know, everyone wakes up like, I have problems every day. Well, as long as you have more solutions than problems, then you have solutions today. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's all it is. It's like, oh, the gas light's on. What's our solution? Let's go to the gas station.
Right.
Okay. We only have $20 today. Okay. We have $20 today. Boom. That's the solution today. You know, it's just finding a solution. And obviously some solutions are tougher. It's like, oh man, I got this meeting at 2:00. I don't have the answer. It's already noon right now. Okay. What's the solution? We're skipping lunch. We're doubling. We have an extra hour now to find a solution. You know what I'm saying? So it's like every day it's just finding solutions, you know, and the better you get at finding solutions, the better equipped you'll be and more successful you'll be when you're chasing your passions. Because as you chase your passions, you're going to need solutions too.
Yeah. And then a lot of big solutions from yesterday become easier today.
Yeah.
You know, so it becomes...
Now you know them.
Yeah. It's second nature now. It's like, okay, I used to worry about this. That's it. You know, so that's nothing now. You know,
that's LeBron James now. That's Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. That's why they're so great, because they already have a solution for the defensive, set that they're seeing right now.
Exactly.
That's all it is. So
I love being in that space though, man. I love it though.
Yeah. So what do you think, you know, as you look on social media, as you look at the neighborhoods, you know, what's, you know, 3 pieces of advice that you would give somebody that, let's say they just turned 30 years old, they have a job, you know, so they're paying their bills, but they're not happy where they're at. What's 3 pieces of advice that you would give them on how they can get into a better situation?
I would say first, number 1, change your surroundings.
Okay.
you know, because who you around, you know, eagles don't hang out with chickens.
Yep.
You know, who you around says a lot about you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be as successful as the people you choose to spend your time with.
Yep, absolutely. That's huge.
You know, 2, your habits. We talked about earlier, there's only 2 types of habits, addictive and productive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you're smoking, drinking, whatever, you're either doing something that you're addicted to or doing something that's productive.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say 3, and people always say this, they say it over and over, find your purpose,
Yeah.
you know, find your inner purpose, you know, but I would say wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Wear a lot of hats, man. You know, a lot of times it'd be little things as kids, you know, like a yo-yo or something.
Yeah.
We were like we were the best yo-yo in there. Like, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, like, we forget that.
Yeah.
Because society.
Simple things.
Right. But the reality of the situation is like 7-year-old you is like, hey, dude.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for you to come back for a while now. You know exactly. What I'm saying? So with that being said, try a lot of hats. So yeah, those would be the 3 things. Change your surroundings, because if you're in that cycle, that goes back to what you said earlier. You're doing the same thing, seeing the same people. Mm-hmm. It's time for you to you have to change the people who you're around. Yeah. And if you have to go through that period of being by yourself for a while, be comfortable with that.
Right.
Because now
you're comfortable being alone, right. Or be comfortable being alone when you know you're chasing something positive.
You know, be comfortable in that space. You know, and change your habits, man. Start, and you'll notice as your habits change, your personality begins to change as well.
Absolutely.
You know, because if you only know yourself in one environment, you know, you've lived away from home. Obviously, you live in Fort Myers. Mm-hmm. I've lived in other places as well. But you have some people who never live outside of their hometown.
Yeah. So that's huge. I realized that when I went to Fort Myers, and I lived on the east, over in West Palm Beach for 4.5 years too. And, you know, each people I've met in those cities never left their city too.
Yeah.
And so, even when you travel, man, a lot of people haven't left state lines. They've only been in a couple of different states, maybe just Georgia or Alabama, you know, and when you actually get to New York City and you get to Denver and you get to California and you maybe go to Paris or London, and you start Mexico and other places, you realize how similar everyone is, but you also realize how big the world is from a perspective standpoint, right?
Right.
It's a small world, but it's big from a perspective.
It's definitely big from a perspective. And Pharrell, he talked about it.
Yeah.
He said if you're in New York and you're walking through Times Square, you're gonna you put on Jay-Z.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna feel it. But if you go to Miami and you're walking on South Beach and you put on Caribbean music, you're gonna feel it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and he said, and that's what it's music. He said that's why you fell in love into it. It's supposed to evoke the emotion. You know, I feel goes a long way.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've been trying my best. That's one of these days is going to stick.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to stick. It's definitely going to stick. And I'm comfortable with that.
No, I think the first question is, what do you define as success? And what would you, you know, looking back on life 30 years from now, define as like a successful life for you?
Interesting. Success. You know, some people may equate it to their dollar amount. I would say success is being proud of myself.
Okay.
That's huge. Can you sleep with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because everybody, that's why I say it's so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it definitely is.
You know, so some people may look at the money, they look at the money, you know, can I be proud of the foundation I've laid?
Yep.
To me, that's successful.
Okay.
You know,
so as long as you can keep asking yourself that question and the answer is yes.
Yeah. And I give my all.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, from an athlete perspective, if you didn't give your all, it's going to bother you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to bother
absolutely.
you. It's going to bother you. If I can give my all and I can say, hey, man, I may not have got this, but I got that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy with it. And honestly, with myself, you know, regardless of where I may post as far as like my degrees, I'm getting to a space where I can now like look at it and go, okay,
yeah,
I'm a little happy with it.
There you
know
go.
what I'm saying? Because because sometimes you could be so hungry, it blocks that.
No, for sure. You're so worried about what's next that you're not ever appreciative of the moment that you're even in, which used to be the thing that you wanted to be next.
Exactly. Carpe diem. You gotta learn to live in that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And enjoy that.
So easier said than done when you're so motivated. What? Bro, people ask me questions about high school or college or even 2 years ago. And sometimes it's so hard for me to even get back, like remember what they're talking about, because I'm always so like, it's hard for me to think about memories sometimes. Yeah, unless they're like big things, because I'm so focused on like tomorrow and the next thing. That it's so hard for me to think backwards. I could be present. That's how I think that's how I'm able to operate in chaos, is that I can compartmentalize things and, be present in what we're doing right now and not be worried about what I need to do in 30 minutes from now. But just thinking backwards, even like last week, 2 weeks ago, is like tough because I'm like, oh man, I got to stop all the motors to like reverse and think back. It's so tough how my mind works.
Right. Honestly, man, like truth be told, sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Because there's a quality that you an inequality that you exhibited at a time that, maybe you were in survival mode.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were so hungry that now you can look back on it and be like, oh man, like that was me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I promise you, I was watching Iron Man.
Yeah.
With Spider-Man. He's like, oh wait, look at you go. And he's like, you see him catching like the car.
Yeah.
It's like, but it takes somebody to come or even yourself to be able to look back and you're like, wow, man, I actually pulled it off.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So I would say success is that definitely just being able to look at all the work you've put down and be happy with it.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so who do you have in the Super Bowl? Who do you have winning and why?
Here we go, man. Some people gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna tell you Kansas City. Let me tell you why though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why. One, first and foremost, the 49ers been getting a lot of breaks.
Yeah.
They've been getting a lot of breaks.
Yep.
And Patrick Mahomes is not Jordan Love, and he's not the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they're going to come ready.
They're going to come ready.
And Andy. I mean, he's not going to be shook.
He's not going to, and you're not going to get behind 25, 30 points to come back. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy.
That's the only chance they have, I think, the 49ers, is they have to get out to a 3 to 4 touchdown lead at some point.
Yeah. You got to get on him
because they can score so quick. Mahomes, they could just score quick.
Actually, Josh Allen, he scored in 13 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I don't see him doing it. And honestly, like you're going into next year, because this is their bad year.
Yeah. They're down year, so to speak.
Yeah. So going into next year is still,
record wise,
he's still going to be a problem, man. And then it's just like, believe it or not, Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Yeah, from here. Yeah, Lakewood.
Yeah, his grandma, she
live right here.
Yeah, she live right over, 2 or 3 streets over.
In the off season, I see him up at the Tropical Smoothie, because that's where Lewis Murphy owns that Tropical Smoothie up there, and he's up there all the time. I see him weekly up there.
Oh, that's my fiance's cousin,
Lewis Murphy.
Oh no,
or Scantling.
Yeah. Same. Grandma house was like right across the street. So she's Kansas City crazy.
Yeah, I think they got. I wasn't rooting for Kansas City, obviously, before we got to this game. No. But I think if, the lesser two evils, I'd pick Kansas City too. Oh, yeah. Just because, I don't know, 49ers get a lot of breaks. I just don't. Something about that team, I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. But, and for the Chiefs, at some point, you're witnessing, greatness from a team perspective.
It's scary.
Yeah, man.
If you look at...
They had the same 3 components. Great coach, arguably the best coach. In the league right now, arguably the best tight end year in and year out, and arguably the best quarterback.
Honestly,
so same thing as Patriots.
Andy Reid is making Bill Belichick look so small. Like it's a problem.
It's the same recipe.
Yes. I'm like, Bill Belichick can't find a job. What the hell is going on? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I hate to say it like that, but it's just like Bill Belichick nobody's chinning up to get Bill Belichick.
Yeah. Well, Bill Belichick is like Greg Popovich, I would argue that he wouldn't even accept certain jobs too. Even Bill's like, I'm not going to this place or that place, you know? So it's probably goes a little bit both ways, but I would say for Bill, man, it's just like politicians. At some point, just get out of the game and play a new game, instead of having a politician in politics when they're 80, 90, can't even walk, 70, it's like, why don't you guys transition to the media? That way our media people that speak on politics are actually former politicians and not just media people speaking on politicians. Right. And have younger people, go up through the ranks and stuff.
And that's so real because truth be told, bro, what's his name? It's a smaller podcast I like to watch. And I think he had the best take. He said, Bill Belichick and Cam Newton have the same problem. Your personalities are too big. Yeah. If Cam Newton was to come back into the league, whether Bill Belichick goes to the team, if the GM has to consistently answer questions about Bill Belichick. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Cam Newton. They if win or lose, what's going on with him? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's too big.
Yeah, it's similar to the Kaepernick situation too, where it's like we don't want to have to answer these questions, and then our quarterback plays bad, and now we're asking why he's not starting now. And
unless you're
he's a little bit different. He's a little bit different because he sued the NFL, so you can't sue your job, and then they're
complain
not
about it. Yeah, nobody wants to talk. I'm not unbiased. How could you sue it? And then next thing you're at a tryout. What's going on?
Yeah, that's the big thing. It's not even about all the the backlash. It's because like you sued and got money. Like you won the suit to some degree.
And then you make the Netflix special.
Yeah. And then you're like, hey, can I come work for you? They're like, no. We'll take anybody. We'll take your son, but we cannot take you.
Not at all. It's way too much. It's way too much, man.
No, that's awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on, making the time, because I know time is, especially on your busy Saturday, bro.
Man, definitely, man. Thank you for having me, for sure, man.
Absolutely,
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the work that you put down, man. I see good things for you in the future, man.
I appreciate it, man. I'm trying to keep up with everyone that I see doing positive stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never look at it as a competition from like a financial perspective, but I do think about it from a competition of just positivity and being productive. You know, so if I look across I look across the table and I see, 80-90% of somebody else's schedule is productive things. It's like I gotta match that intensity. You know what I'm saying?
Same.
So I see that with you. I see that with a bunch of people that we've had on, and the goal is to have you obviously back on maybe at the end of this year or the beginning of next, and just like check in to see what you've been able to do from this point till that point. And goals change. Passions, adjust over time, and it'll be cool for, us and everyone else that listens in to kind of see how that journey, you know what I'm saying? Cause that's what we said. It's about the process and the journey. And,
yes, sir.
Being happy throughout that journey. And I think the more that you can find purpose and, just bring positive energy, inherently, you're going to have some happiness, along the way. So
definitely, bro.
Until next time, bro, but let's keep grinding.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. Thanks for having me once again, man.
Absolutely, bro.
Yes, sir.
I'm feeling alive,